objective end. So this is a plan I did of a property in South Australia which was missed. The explorer Eyre, when he went through here in the 1860s, called this area Savannah, but it had one tree about every 500 metres. It had already been abused by sheep for some time, and all the trees, the savannah was basically destroyed, as were the native perennial pastures. So anyway, so this here is probably, in a broader landscape perspective, is probably as good a representation of the main types of layouts that we would have in a forestry system that I can think of. Now, of course, when I think of agroforestry, I mean, you could say this is all agroforestry, right? But when I think of agroforestry in its terms in Australia, it's where you've got more forestry than agriculture, right? That the woody plant systems are the dominant plant system in the economy and operation of this system, not the sort of more classic agricultural species of livestock and crops, right? But if you were to look at that as a layout per se, then I would call that a wide-spaced forest, right? And there's lots of different versions of a wide-spaced forest. So this is a system that comes from Iberia, Spain, the Dehesa, and that's a wide-spaced in Spain and Portugal. In Portugal, it's called the Montado. It's a system of cork and holm oak, so two different oak species. Most of the cork that you get for any purpose, Birkenstocks, all that sort of stuff, corks in bottles, yoga mats, all that sort of stuff comes from those systems. And there's very extensive ones all through western Spain and much of Portugal. Those species are spaced at between 2 to 5 times canopy diameter, right? So if you've got a canopy diameter of 10 metres, then the next tree will be 20 to 50 metres away, right? And the space in between is for, well, it used to be primarily for livestock grazing. In modernity, it's being shifted over to either all crops, cereal growing, annual cereal growing, or a mixture of both, right? But it's a very old system. These systems have been going on for about 5,000 years. And what they really are, so the descendants of the Cro-Magnons, the first Iberians, developed these systems. These were closed canopy forests of those species, and they basically thinned them out so that they could grow more, because there were lions and shit in this country back then. You know, there were lions in the UK at one stage, right? So they got rid of the trees because no one likes lions on your farm, right? So they got rid of them and opened it up so that they could grow their livestock and open up the area. Other systems that we've got, these riparian systems, which are really relatively novel. The idea of planting out water lines, flow lines, is relatively new. But a lot of you, especially in these humid areas, you don't have to do much. You only have to rest that landscape for a fairly short time, and because of the humidity that's there, you know, up the lantana comes, up everything comes, and you've got forest that just self-generates there quite easily. Then you've got avenues. Well, avenues are only planted where you've got a road. Avenue comes from the it's part of the same Roman Latin lineage of avenida and so on. So you're planting trees along roads. That's a Roman and Greco-Roman concept, more or less, as a landscape architecture theme. Then you've got these alleys, which can or may not follow contour alignments. Sometimes they follow a solar alignment. So when you look at this system, that's a solar alignment, north-south predominantly. So we've planted this system so that it's basically north-south, because there's no topographical advantage to this system by having these trees follow a contour alignment. because it's so flat, in other words. Whereas in these systems where we've got these alleys, there isn't, you can see the underlying topography there, it's flat there, there's fall here, there's an advantage to having these trees go in a particular alignment. And you can see the change in the shade that occurs, and that's a whole form of other analysis. When you're looking at alignments, this is something we talked about with the syntropic. The syntropic stuff, a lot of Ernst's stuff is, you're looking at solar axis is a real driver of the row orientation, right? So, and in a drier climate, you're going to look at that and say, well, gee, if I go solar axis as being my row alignment determinant, then I may dehydrate my system. I may cause all sorts of different issues, and you might have to do a lot of work to overcome that. Whereas, and this is part of the decisions that you've made with this setup, is you've gone with a different alignment, with more of a contour alignment, or in this case a keyline geometry, and of course then you've shifted it so that that solar axis is less important to you than in the hierarchy of consideration than water harvesting.
And the other thing that I did there, and I'll show you guys later, is that even though the rows run east-west, roughly east-west, all of the what we call high strata trees, which are the significant canopies that we have in the system, I line them north south.
Yeah, right. Yeah, which of course you can do, and that's the thing. Like we talk about this all of the time. Like someone's got an east-west alignment with their contours, and we go, okay, well let's evaluate where the shade's going with this, and I'll talk a bit more about this when we delve. So we're just in the helicopter at the moment. We'll delve in a bit deeper, believe it or not. You go, oh shit.